parenting videos. This video is a special video because we're going to start talking about guardians. I'm going to do at least a couple of videos on guardians and probably more in the future, because if there's anything that is the most difficult aspect of Renew Ministry, it is guardians. Figuring out when they're popping up and how to deal with them. We'll just get confused and things will be complex and you're just like not sure where you are. Virtually every time, I'll just say this, virtually every time you're feeling lost, you're probably dealing with a guardian. Most of the time, that's the case. And guardians, they pop up, they can pop up anywhere in the session. They can start at the beginning of the session, right when they walk in. A person may come in and they're already mad. That's possible. It's possible that when they come in, they're scared to death and they're afraid of what the session is going to produce in them. They're afraid of what's going to come out of them. They're afraid of you, maybe. Or maybe people come in and they're just shut down. They're just not wanting to do it, you know. So guardians can happen before the session even starts, and then anywhere in the entire session, guardians can pop up. So just be aware of that. And so that's what makes it the most difficult aspect is recognizing it as soon as it happens. But man, I'll tell you what, if you can get good at this, at recognizing guardians, no doubt you will knock an hour off of your sessions. Easy, just by getting really good and proficient at recognizing a guardian, knowing what it's doing, and being able to efficiently deal with it, okay? So, but guardians, anytime that you're experiencing hesitancy, or they're experiencing hesitancy, or there's any kind of interference, a guardian is at play. Every time. List of over 50 guardians that I've made. And in my experience, the things that pop up on a regular basis, I've got a list of about 50 different guardians. And it's good for you to see that list. It's not that you have to memorize every single one of them, but because I don't. I just recognize these 5 categories. And then there's a lot of things that pop in under these categories, okay? So I'm going to describe them to you. I'm going to give you a lot of examples of what the guardians are, and you just need to know and understand that they fall under these 5 categories, okay? So let's just go over that. Under anger, sometimes what will happen is under this anger, they'll start showing things that you're not recognizing as anger right away. Like maybe they'll start getting stubborn, right? So it could be stubborn, it could be obstinate, maybe it's self-hate, like maybe you don't recognize that as anger right away, but that falls under that category. Shame, being critical or judgmental, saying this is stupid or this is dumb, I don't want to be here, this sucks, they can say things like that. Or if they're pointing the finger or blaming, all of that falls under anger, okay? Logic. This one is interesting because we think it's common, it's easy for us to accept a person's logic and not recognize, hey, no, that's getting in the way. We normally, throughout life, we think logic is a good thing, but in a Renew Ministry session, finding the bottom identity lie, you're never going to find it following logic. So logic in a Renew Ministry session is actually usually our enemy. It keeps us from finding that bottom identity lie, that bottom hurt, right? So under logic, here's some examples of that. People will say things like, well, just give me the answer. Okay, no, I'm not just going to give you the answer because that's just going to bounce right off your forehead. It's not going to do the good. You already have the answer. You've got it here. It just hasn't moved from here to here, you know? So they'll say, just give me the answer. Or they'll be rationalizing things or finding practical solutions. This is so common. Somebody will say, well, if they'll go back to a memory and they'll be dealing with their dad and they'll start saying things like, well, if I had just behaved myself, then this wouldn't have happened. Or if I had just chosen to follow closer to my mom, then I wouldn't have gotten lost. Or, all that stuff. It's like, yeah, that's true. Those are all practical solutions that would have kept you from experiencing that pain, but that's not what happened, is it? So practical solutions, that's all coming out of logic. Or they'll give excuses to the person. Like, I know they didn't mean to hurt me. Yeah, of course. If you have a father and a mother that love you, of course they didn't mean to hurt you. But if you minimize, if you belittle the pain that you actually experienced in that moment when your parents said something that did cause pain, doesn't matter if they meant to or not, it hurt, so you have to address that hurt. Or they'll say, they'll say, I know it's not true, but, yeah, of course you know it's not true, but it feels true, okay? Or they'll just be overanalyzing things or racing thoughts. When people have racing thoughts, that's all this. They're trying to find the solution. That's what they're doing. That's what that's what's happening in between the ears. Okay, next category, rejection, okay? Here's what that looks like. Here's the types of guardians that'll pop up under rejection. They'll say, I don't want to look at it, right? They're in denial. Denial is a part of rejection. I'm denying that this is a need of mine. I don't want to look at it. I just want to hide from it. Or they'll say, whatever, they'll be just kind of flippant about things. Yeah, whatever. Or they'll say, it's fine. Or they'll say, this is silly. It's all trying to reject that there's a problem present, okay? Or they'll get really apathetic, like they just don't, know, not a present emotion. It's just kind of like they just don't care. Or they'll say, I don't know. Be aware of this one. When they say, I don't know, it's not true. It's never true. When you ask a person, how does Jesus feel about you? How does Jesus feel towards this hurting part of you? If they say, I don't know, you're dealing with a guardian. You do know. It's that they don't want to know. They're rejecting what they know, okay? So don't buy it if somebody says, I don't know. It's not true. They do. They're just not wanting to look at it. They're denying it. Doubt, can't trust, skepticism, okay? Those are very connected. Doubt, skepticism, can't trust. The reason why these are so powerful is because when you doubt something, then it doesn't have power over you, okay? So if a person just doubts the love of Jesus, or they doubt that their parents actually meant something, or they doubt things, because if you doubt it, then it doesn't have the ability to hurt you. But if you don't doubt it, if you do trust it, then it does have the ability to hurt you, So doubt, can't trust, skepticism, those are all guardians. Absolutely. And they are keeping Jesus from being able to heal the hurt, okay? Confusion, oddly enough, confusion is a part of rejection. It's a part of denial. It's a part of doubt. The reason they're confused is because they don't know what to trust in, and they're not willing to trust in anything, and so they're confused about it, okay? Making jokes. This is common. People will come in and they just want to keep everything light. Just reject that there's any pain. No, deny that there's any pain, and they're just happy-go-lucky and everything's fine. Or they'll be in the middle of the session and they'll start connecting with the pain, and then the jokes just start coming out left and right. That is so common, but they're rejecting, okay? So it's a guardian. When somebody's making jokes, that's a guardian at play, okay? So that's rejection. Shutting down, okay? This is a big one as well. Shutting down looks like this. They'll get numb, or they'll say, well, I'm not feeling anything anymore, or they'll experience fatigue. They'll start getting really tired, and literally physically they're just getting tired because they want to shut down as to avoid looking at the pain, looking at the hurt, okay? Or they'll get brain fog, or they just everything's just kind of foggy. They're shutting down. Freezing, they just stop and they just don't. They cannot produce words. They cannot produce emotion. They cannot produce thought. They just freeze. Or they'll cower. That'll happen if somebody's in a tremendous amount of pain. All of a sudden, they'll start really associating with it very closely, and they start cowering as to shut down, as to not deal with it. Disassociation, that'll happen where people almost kind of take on a third-party role to themselves. They disassociate from their emotion. That's part of shutting down. Depression or distracted. They'll start getting distracted and start shutting down that way. Distracted can kind of also look like rejection as well. Can kind of fall in either of those categories. But either way, distracted, it's a guardian, okay? Finally, we have flee. And in many ways, flee is like the ultimate category of guardians. Flee is kind of the overarching umbrella over all guardians, because every time a guardian shows up, it's because they're trying to flee the pain. No matter what category it is, they kind of can all fall under the category of flee, okay? But a few examples of flee: fear, anxiety, panic. They say they want to run away, hiding, or suicidal thoughts. Those are all very clear flee things, and they're all associated with fear, okay? So those are the categories of guardians. I want to point out something that's very important for people to understand, and it's this. These categories, if you notice this, they are a part of our human nature, our God-given design, okay? This is image of God imprinted on us. Anger, Jesus experienced anger. Logic, okay, in and of themselves, what did I say here? It serves holy purposes when the guardian, or when these parts of our personality are believing truth. They serve holy purposes. Just because they're a guardian in the Renew Ministry process does not mean that they're evil. Guardians are not evil in and of themselves. Guardians are a part of our God-given personality, the image of God imprinted on us, okay? So, anger. Yep, there's things we should be angry at. There is a such thing as righteous anger, and God was angry at things. Logic, what does Scripture say? Come now, let us reason together. Jesus is the Logos, right? In the beginning was the Logos. Logic is not in and of itself evil. But if our logic is believing a lie, it's the lie that's evil, not us, not this part of our personality. Rejection. You better believe there's things we got to reject. There's a lot of things we need to reject in this life. Shutting down, okay? There is a such thing as Sabbath. There's a time for us where we are supposed to shut down. Jesus honored the Sabbath, and God, at the end of creating for 6 days, took a Sabbath. We are supposed to shut down. The lights are supposed to go out. We are supposed to take our rest and get rejuvenated by shutting down. But if we are shutting down because we're believing a lie, because we're just depressed and we don't want to look at it, we just want to take a nice long nap, then it's believing a lie, so it's not serving holy purposes. But this in and of itself isn't evil. It's part of our God-given design. Flee, yeah, you better believe it. We are supposed to flee sin. We are supposed to run from the dangerous plans of the devil. You know, this is part of, we're commanded to do this. We're commanded to do this. We're commanded to do this. We're commanded to do this, and we're commanded to do this. All of these are God-given commands. We're supposed to operate in our personality in these 5 different ways. The issue is, again, when it's not believing truth, then these things no longer serve holy purposes. They're a part of us. And they can serve holy purposes when believing truth. Now, the reason why this is important for us to recognize is because these parts of us need to experience compassion. So when we're dealing with a guardian, we need to express, the guardian needs to receive. In the next video, we'll go through the process of how to actually deal with the guardian. Right now, we're just kind of talking about the principles of guardians. But the guardians need to experience compassion from Jesus. If the guardian, if you've got anger there, anger can seem like this ugly, nasty thing. And you can be really angry at the situation. Or you can be angry at Jesus even, right? So you're experiencing this anger, and if we bring Jesus to that, and we embrace that Jesus would be mad that we're mad, that's not going to do any good. That is only going to produce more defensiveness. It's only going to produce that anger is just going to be angry back. So it's not going to disable the guardian. Compassion. It is God's compassion, his goodness that leads us to repentance, right? Not his rejection of us, not his hatred towards us. God does not, in and of itself, hate our anger or our logic or our rejection or shutting down or flee. He doesn't hate that in and of themselves. He hates the lies that these parts of us believe. So we need to have compassion. So when Jesus comes to the angry part can feel at ease because he experiences compassion from Jesus, okay? If you don't experience compassion, if this part is experiencing rejection from Jesus, then that's going to make it get more defensive. So imagine with me, if you will, like if you had to give a presentation of some kind to a class or to a congregation or to a group, okay? So you work really hard day and night for a couple of weeks working on this presentation, and then you give the presentation. At the end of the presentation, everybody labels you as bad, okay? They label you, well, you did this bad, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. What are you going to feel in that moment? As they're rejecting you, you're going to feel naturally, without effort at all, you are going to naturally feel defensive. Wait, what? No, that's not what I meant. You're not understanding me. You're misunderstanding me. I'm trying to help you. And so you get defensive. That's the thing with guardians. Every single one of them is trying to keep you from experiencing pain. Your anger is trying to keep you from experiencing the hurt. Your logic, the rejection, the shutting down, the flee, they all are trying to keep you from experiencing pain. That's the desire of that part of your personality, is trying to keep you from feeling pain. That's a good thing, right? The issue is they're deceived, okay? They're deceived by a lie, and they're thinking that anger is the answer. It's not. They're thinking that the practical solutions are the answer when they're not, but they're trying to do good for you, okay? God-given part of your personality is trying to protect you from feeling pain. The issue is they're deceived. Sometimes these things go away just by asking why. If someone is angry, you say, well, why are you angry? Well, because my teammate spit in my face. I didn't deserve that. So all you did, you just asked, why are you angry? You didn't have to isolate it. You didn't have to go through the guardian process. You just asked why. Why are you angry? Because the guy spit in my face. Okay, and if he spat in your face, how does that make you feel? It makes me feel like he doesn't want to be my friend anymore. Okay, that's different than anger. Well, if he doesn't want to be your friend anymore, how does that make you feel? It makes me feel rejected. And if he rejected you, how does that make you feel? It makes me feel worthless, right? You just continue working down. You resolve the guardian just by asking why. If a person says, I'm just feeling really tired right now. Sometimes all you got to do is just say, okay, well, why do you feel tired? I say, because this is so overwhelming. Well, what's overwhelming about this? Well, I feel like my mom did this or my boss did this or whatever. And before you know it, you've gotten right past it just by asking why. I want to run away. Why? Okay? Dealing with guardians, that's usually what I do first time every time, unless it's obvious the guardian is really strong. But just asking why is something that usually half the time, maybe, takes care of the guardian. And all you've done is just spent 1 second asking why. Now, if why doesn't resolve it, then we need to go through the guardian process, and we'll do that in the next video. Lastly, for this one, take notes, okay? Keep track of where you are in the session, because sometimes the guardian pops up at the beginning, sometimes it's in the middle. You'll be asking how does that make you feel, and why do you feel that way? And as you're going down through that process, in the feeling step as well as the experience step, and the lie step, as you're asking those how and why questions, guardians can pop up anywhere in there. So what you need to do, as soon as a guardian pops up, recognize where you are in the session. So let's say you get down to abandoned, You say, well, if they abandoned you, how does that make you feel? And then they say, oh, I just lost connection with my emotion. You know, right there, a guardian just popped up. So you write down abandoned, because that's where you're going to go back. As soon as you resolve the guardian, then you go back to what produced the guardian, okay? All right, let's go back to that place where you felt abandoned. If you were abandoned, how does that make you feel, right? And then now that the guardian's not there, we can go.